Hello, welcome. Hi. Okay, we are live for day 3. Give me 1 second. My camera is all wonky. That will totally distract me. All right, and we go live on Facebook. Okay, what is up, people? Hi, welcome to part 3 of Ascend into your intuitive power. Wow. Hey, nice to see you all. I'll give everybody a few minutes to pop on. Thank you for tuning in live. If you've showed up today, awesome. So where are we at? So today it's all about kind of bringing things full circle into really looking at how intuition connects to your mindset, connects to really everything. And so I really wanted to think about what I wanted to talk about today, considering we're kind of wrapping up. But at the same time, the journey has just begun. If you decide to join us in the membership, then this is just the tippy top, the tease of what we'll be going into in depth inside of the monthly membership, the Soul Aligned Life Academy. This is going to be an amazing space to be, where you can start to learn how to own your intuitive gifts, start to really take back control of your thoughts. We're going to be building out a curriculum with really diving into the depths of how you can navigate spiritual awakening successfully by learning how to master your mindset, master your energetics, really looking at manifestation from this new lens, and really also just going into the depths of just what it means to own your intuitive power. So I'd love to know, did you guys do the prompt? Because I'll tell you what, that was a really powerful prompt to dig into and to just explore for yourself, to really look at, what does it really look like to own my intuitive power? What does that mean to me as a person? What does it look like going beyond my own conditioning, my own misaligned conditioning that maybe I've been led around with, maybe where I've been in doubt about, where I've settled, where I've been in either limited beliefs, or I've just been in this space where maybe I'm just settling. And instead, to look at, what does it mean to fully own my intuitive power? What does that look like? And to really go into the depths of, here's the other piece of this, is what does it look like to give myself permission to fully go into that process, to really give myself permission to own this part of myself, to essentially raise my standards, raise my sense of worth, my sense of value, who I am as a person. What does it mean to go into the depths of what this looks like and how that really translates into what I create in my life? Because at the end of the day, it's also about what you're manifesting. Okay, so we'll give people a few minutes to hop on. All right. Like working on getting comfortable. Okay. So let's just do a recap. So when it came to really looking at ascend into your intuitive power, I know this was a very impromptu live. I didn't even promote it that heavily, except for to my current audience. What I really wanted to talk about here is how I see so many people, let's think about this. So when you start in a spiritual awakening, a lot of what you're feeling, what you're experiencing is really about coming back home to owning your intuitive power. And then what happens is a lot of us go into the depths of spiritual awakening, Kundalini awakening, and we don't even understand how to access our psychic potential, the part of us that owns this intuitive, more interdimensional part of ourselves. And we could even go so far as to say that it's like we're not choosing to own our multidimensional gifts. And what I've really come to find is that this is one of the hugest pieces that holds a lot of people back when it comes to spiritual awakening. Is instead what's happening is they're living more from this victim mentality of where the ascension symptoms are happening to me and I don't know what to do, or they're coming at it from this lens of, I don't know how to heal this. I don't know how to heal these symptoms. I don't know what to do about all of the things that are happening me into the ascension process, essentially. And it kind of leaves this almost lackluster kind of feeling where it's like, what do I do with this? I mean, I remember distinctively one of the things that happened to me is I remember really asking myself this question of like, what do I do with this information? Like, I remember this very distinct moment. Like, I was at my apartment. It was like one of our first apartments, and my son was like a toddler. And I just remember, like, it was shortly after I had this really big, like, DMT experience. And I was just like, but what do I do with this? Like, what is beyond just having these enlightenment experiences? Because when all is said and done, we are all one. We are collective consciousness. Like, there's these elements of like enlightenment is great, but what do we do with enlightenment? What do we do with that process within ourselves where it's like we have experienced enlightenment and we even know, like, we know all these things that are happening to us are happening for a reason. And it's like we're in this crux of spiritual awakening. And it's like we know we're in the revolution. But at the same time, what I've found continuously is, and this is why I think it's such an important topic to touch on, is what is on the other side of that? Like, it's cool to experience ascension and enlightenment and ascending into our intuitive power. But at the end of the day, how are we applying that? What are we doing after spiritual awakening? This is a conversation I've had so many times with so many clients, so many people. And it's just such an interesting revelation of looking at, well, what are you doing with your spiritual awakening? Like, what are you doing differently? Are you using it to help change your life? Are you using it to have better health? Are you learning how to heal those symptoms as they come up? Are you actually utilizing the gifts that you've been given? Because when we're not doing that and we're in the energy of suppressing those gifts and we're not really owning who we are, as a result, we're either struggling or we're having a hard time or we're having a hard time with the symptoms. Or what even can even happen is it's just we're not really giving ourselves permission to own that part of who we are. And I think when it comes to really looking at spiritual awakening as a whole, when you're not choosing to own that part of you, it can become so fascinating how, like I said, when I was in that apartment, I felt like I just hit this moment where I'm just like, but what do I do? Like, it's like I know all these truths to the universe. I know all these things, but it's like at the end of the day, my reality doesn't look that way. At the end of the day, like, how do I help my family? How do I figure out what to do differently in my life? And then I realized in this moment of just sure enlightenment, awareness, where it was just, that's the whole point. The whole point is to apply alignment to your life. The whole point is to apply your intuitive gifts to your life, to better your life, to manifest your desires, to build your life from your desires, to awaken your soul purpose inside of you. This isn't just a conversation of awakening is happening at random. It's not even a conversation of, now I have psychic abilities. Woohoo! It's more like, what are you doing with that? Are you actually applying it to your life? Because if you're not, 9 times out of 10, you're either suppressing your intuition due to the survival mind, or you're in a place where you might be not really owning it. You're not really either owning it or understanding it. So a lot of what we're going to talk about in the monthly membership is how can you be in that space of awareness where you can start to really amp up your intuitive powers and to really look at how you can, as a person, just completely revolutionize your life, because now you have your mindset, your energy, your habits, your systems for success. Everything around you is starting to literally elevate, and you're starting to raise your standards, raise your sense of worth. And as a result from this, it doesn't even look like necessarily what you can possibly, it doesn't look like what you could possibly do in terms of, like, I don't want to say it's like automatically everyone knows their purpose, because that's not true. But I think it's more so how can you use it to expand your life? Because I'll tell you what, one thing I've really learned, and after I've had that conversation with myself in the apartment, I just remember like I started having better health. I started learning how to heal my ascension symptoms. I started learning how to manifest. I started learning like all of these different things that, like a long time ago, we'd say, it's like we're opening the mystery schools. Well, it's not really like it's Harry Potter or the mystery schools, but there is an element of where we're choosing to actively learn how to use our magic, our gifts, and which is our natural intuition. It's just most people don't understand that part of themselves. They've turned it off, they've shut it down, they've suppressed it, they've lost touch with who they are. And as a result from that, their lives, their results, and their truth, it shows in their reality. And because of that awareness, you can start to use that conscious awareness to systematically change your own life. And I think that's one of the hugest revelations that I really had about spiritual awakening so far on my journey. It's been over about 12 years at this point. And that's to realize that those intuitive hits that you're getting, those repeated messages, those repeated patterns that are showing up, all of those things are coming up for a reason. They're coming up for a reason so that you start to apply them to your life. I remember one of the things that always came up for numerous clients when I first started was there was so many conversations around spiritual burnout. And this is where a lot of people, and this is so interesting because a client of mine recently, she does healing sessions, and she even reported to me that she had someone that came in for a spiritual, who was having a spiritual awakening and didn't realize they were having a spiritual awakening. And she said that all of their upper chakras were incredibly overactive and all of their under chakras were fine. Like their lower chakras were fine. But because they were in a spiritual awakening, all of their higher chakras were super open, overactive, and receptive. And she didn't know what to do with herself. She didn't know what was going on. She's like, look, I need rebalancing work. I don't know what the heck is going on with me. And my client's just like, you're having a spiritual awakening, obviously. But this is very, very common. And it's called spiritual burnout. And it's where all of the higher chakras are overcompensated. So it's like because your Kundalini is turning on, you have all of this energy that's coming in. But if you're not learning how to apply that information, it's like overcompensated in the higher chakras and it has nowhere to travel. Like I've seen this time and time and time again, especially when people are just beginning on the journey, or they're a beginner to the journey, or they're just like getting started, or even they're getting stuck in a lot of ascension symptoms. This is what's happening is you're getting this overcompensation of the higher chakras. So when we think about in terms of higher chakras, it's just energy. So it's just the energy centers are just, they're consumed with too much energy in the higher chakras and they have nowhere to travel. And the reason for this is because we're not grounding out that energy. We're not choosing to bring it back into the earth plane. We're getting all these downloads and we're not doing anything with them. So it's like this energy is just overcompensated. And this is what happens when we don't apply spiritual awakening back to our life. And so for me, this is one of the hugest shifts I had was I realized that when I'm listening to my intuition and I'm taking aligned action and I'm learning how to utilize these gifts, I'm starting to apply that back to my life. And I think this is one of the hugest things that really came up so, so heavily when I first started to really get alignment. And I think it's so empowering to touch on because you can start to see that, exactly what this person said. You use it to create change. Exactly. You use it to create change in your life. And so one thing that I really learned heavily on when it came to looking at mindset work and manifestation work is to start to realize that, we're coming from a place where we were unconscious. We were unconscious to our thoughts, to our consciousness. I mean, if you were to just break it down from the end of the day, like spiritual awakening is about becoming conscious of consciousness itself. That's really what it's about. Like, there's so many other nuances, of course, enlightenment, manifestation, all of these things. But at the end of the day, it's really about we're becoming conscious of consciousness itself. And then we're realizing, well, what the heck do I do with that? Like, what the fuck do I do with it? Because now that I'm aware of my consciousness and I know I'm a co-creator of reality, and I know that I've been manifesting unconsciously for all this time, what do I do with that information? And that becomes one of the biggest questions of your fucking life, because you can start to see that it's no longer this conversation of like things are just happening at random. And it's like, oh, I'm in spiritual awakening and I'm going to just keep letting these ascension symptoms hit me. And it's like, no, that's not what it's about at all. And I think there's this element of when you start to get manifestation and you start to realize that it's not really about being in this place where like things are just happening at random. It's more like you come into conscious awareness that it's about you're removing unconscious programming and turning that unconscious programming into a place of conscious awareness. And then your job is to realize that once it's conscious, once you're aware, now you have the power to change it. You have the power to be like, do I want to accept this or reject this? And this is actually proven in science, in neurology. It's called inductive reasoning. Because of the way that your subconscious mind works, you have inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. And inductive reasoning is the point where you can accept or reject information. Well, the same thing is applying here when you come to consciousness of those patterns or that toxic habit or that toxic relationship. You know, your intuition is guiding you back into alignment. And alignment is just saying, this is your natural state of consciousness. You can choose to be in the state of well-being. You can choose to be in the space of where you are more higher vibrational naturally, because you're in a space where you are allowing free flowing energy. You're no longer stopping the flow. You're no longer stopping and resisting the flow of life itself, because when you're in alignment, you're naturally in a place of natural growth and progression. And I think this is interesting because it's kind of like if you look at nature, nature is the same way. Like nature needs watering, but at the same time, the flower isn't forcing itself to grow. It's naturally growing. So it's like we're in that own place of evolution of self when we look at ourselves that way. Because when you think about it in terms of growth doesn't happen where we're forcing ourselves to meditate. It doesn't happen when we're trying to like force the affirmations. Like, I know this is something I had to overcome, like trying to like force myself to be like, oh my God, I have to write all these affirmations. I got to do all this to be high vibe. I got to do all this. And this place where you have to realize that it's like, no, you're going against your own flow, your own natural rhythms, and your own natural rhythms are your alignment. So it's like when you look at spiritual alignment as a whole, as a concept, what you're actually doing is you're learning how to take what is unconscious, make it conscious, and then now your alignment is guiding you back into your natural state, into your natural flow state. And so what I've really learned systematically is it's about looking at your mindset, your emotions, your habits, and most of all, your identity. Because at the end of the day, this is what it's about. It's not so much about new age terms and fluffy things and shadow work and karmic release. It's about looking at your identity, which makes up your paradigm of how you are living. And then what I learned is that you can easily learn to access your intuition the more you start to nurture that relationship with higher self. And then from that, you start to realize that you can take what you're downloading, what you're hearing, those messages that keep coming up, and you can start to be aware of them. It's like you're aware of them. And then now you have the power to change them, because this is what it means to really embrace meditation. This is what it really means to embrace mindfulness, yoga, all of these things. They're bringing us to awareness. Awareness is the catalyst for transformation. But if we're not aware, and if we're not utilizing those gifts, and if we're not going into this space where we're tapping into our intuition, we'll miss it. We'll walk around with our eyes closed. We won't even hear correctly. We won't even be in the space where we fully even get it, because our energy, our mindset is off, which means our alignment is off, which means we're actually misaligned and we're not hearing the messages we need to hear, because our mindset is off, our emotions are off, our actions will be off, our habits will be off. And then that translates into our identity. It doesn't make it right or wrong. It's more so we're just operating from that unconscious programming. Okay, see a few people on. I love your explanation. So happy I switched. Awesome, cool. Does this resonate though? Like, when you think about it in terms of spiritual awakening, is it random? And it's like, I think this is one of those things where it's like, it's the staircase effect, right? Where it's like you were over here and this is how you saw things. And then the more that you evolve and the more that you gain awareness, like a staircase, and now you're seeing from the top of the staircase and you're realizing, oh, this is what it's actually about. It's not fucking random at all. It's about being consciously aware enough to realize that I can choose to live from a state of alignment, to stay in a state of alignment, to keep going back to the state of alignment, because this is where I am in my natural state. This is where I'm in my place of health and happiness and fulfillment and natural evolvement. And it's no longer this conversation of where we're like getting caught up in all of the dogma of like the ego is bad or desire is wrong or any of these things that are just conditioned ideas that have held us back. And so I know someone on Wednesday wanted me to talk about mindset, and I think that's a good segue into what we're talking about now. Is you can also see that this is all about connecting to your mindset, because your mindset is dominating your results because of that programming that's going on that's often unconscious. So it's like if you are walking around going, I'm not good enough, or it can never happen for me, or I'm not successful enough, and you're going to fuel the energy of lack, because that lack is going to start presenting itself, because that's the energy behind the mindset that's being created. So it's like, it always goes back to the energy behind the mindset, because the energy is what is helping fuel the seed. So it's like, in the same regard, if you're encouraging yourself, it's a totally different story. And if you would just to ask yourself, are you encouraging yourself towards what you desire to attract? Or are you just going about it randomly and haphazardly? Because what I'll find, and this is something, you can even do really simply with like exercise, or just, starting a meditation practice. It doesn't even have to be a big lofty goal. You could start encouraging yourself. I'm going to show up for X number of days. I can do this. I know that I can do this. And it's just those affirmations help kind of fuel the pot, essentially, of supporting your ideas, supporting your goals, supporting your vision. And now your mindset is in the right place. So you're training the mind to believe. And then as you train the mind to believe, you start fueling the conversation forward and natural growth occurs. Yeah, so it's like when you think about it in terms of what mindset is, it's like, I actually brought a prop here. So I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's it's going to reflect. Who I am is enough. What I say and do is enough. Or what I say is enough. What I do is enough. I am more than enough. So who I am is enough. What I do is enough. What I say is enough. I am more than enough. Now, from that energy, what would you do differently in your life? If you just stopped for a minute and said, who I am is enough. What I say is enough. What I do is enough. I am more than enough. Now, this energy will fuel differently in your reality because you're encouraging your growth. When we encourage our growth, we naturally grow. Magic. But when you get into a place of when you're looking at your mindset fuels your results, because it has to. It literally has to. It's where your thoughts come from. So one thing that I quickly learned is like, when it comes to looking at bringing the unconscious to conscious to learn how to change it, and we start to learn that, we are listening to the messages, the signs, the symbols, the patterns that are coming up for us on repeat that are showing us what needs to shift and change, what needs to be rearranged. This element of looking at your mindset is a crucial part of the process. So if you were to just ask yourself, what is a mindset or a belief or a thought that you want to change? Whereas maybe there's something happening in one of your particular results or what you're desiring to achieve, but you're noticing that it's not happening, or you're stuck, or there's a lot of misalignment. Well, it starts with looking at your mindset, because your mindset is your intention. That intention fuels your actions. The intention fuels your emotions, which fuels your actions, which fuels your thoughts. So if you were to just ask yourself, well, where do you think thoughts come from? I used to never have the answer for this, but as I've studied mindset work for X number of years, I finally know the answer. Where do you think thoughts come from? Do you know? Like, have you ever asked yourself, where do thoughts come from? Where do they come from? I'm having a thought. Where does it come from? I'm having a projected belief. Where does it come from? It comes from your beliefs. Or a projected emotion. Where do you think it comes from? It comes from your beliefs. It comes from your beliefs. Your beliefs are fueling your reality. So if you want to change your reality, you have to change your beliefs. How do you change your beliefs? You change your thoughts. And how do you change your thoughts? Well, you become conscious of your thoughts. This is what we're talking about when we say meditation is the answer. Doing yoga all the time is the answer. Learning mindfulness is the answer. Well, why do you think all these fucking things exist? It's so that you become aware to change your reality, to learn how to systematically shift and change your reality. Because at the end of the day, this is what it means to really live from spiritual alignment. It's not a random happenstance thing that's occurring to you. You're learning how to become conscious of consciousness itself. And then you're learning how to change your reality with your thoughts. And this is one of the most pivotal moments of evolution when we really think about what spiritual awakening is actually about. It's about learning how to own those intuitive gifts inside of you so that you can learn how to systematically shift and change yourself from the inside out. It's not about changing what's out there to change what's in here. And that's where society gets it all wrong, is they keep thinking that change exists from just physical effort alone. So if I just do X number of days of spiritual practice, I'm going to get my result. Or if I do this certain number of actions, then I'm obviously going to get there. A lot of the times what you'll find is actually the mindset piece is the missing link. Why is it the missing link? It's the missing link because it lives in your beliefs. And your beliefs are what really means when it says thoughts create things. Have you ever heard the term thoughts create things? It's not thoughts create things. It's your beliefs create things. And so when it comes to really looking at, well, how do you even get started when it comes to looking at mindset? Well, I invite you to start to look at, well, what is a result you're desiring? Now go back and look at what are the thoughts that you're thinking about that? What are the emotions you're thinking about that? What are the actions you're taking about that? Like I just had this conversation the other day with someone close to me, and they were just like, well, I'm just not getting ahead, and I don't really feel like I'm set out to do this. And it's like, okay, well, what is your mindset saying though? You're not going to get there when your mindset's like that. You're not going to get there when you're feeling like that, because at the end of the day, you have to be willing and resilient enough to train your mind, to be discerning and develop awareness. And that awareness will help fuel your mindset forward. One of the strongest gifts I can give you today is to just realize that your mindset is the key to everything, and it lives with shifting your thoughts. Now, it's not about suddenly being aware of your thoughts and then beating yourself up because you're having a negative thought. It's not about that. It's about learning to shift those thoughts in the moment as they are and to learn that you can always shift moment to moment to moment. And then what you'll find is that after a while, you'll start to notice that it adds up and adds up and adds up and adds up and adds up, and then it creates a belief. And that's where real change truly occurs, because it's in that point of awareness that that's how we actually create change. Okay. I would love to stay in alignment independent of all narcissistic provocations. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, that's just it though. I think it's all about developing your intuition. And so that's what Ascend has been all about, is learning that how can you gain the confidence to own your intuition, and how can you give yourself permission to own your intuition? Because at the crux of everything is your mindset and your intuition. And that's also the other thing, is you have to realize that when your mindset's in the right place, you'll naturally be more intuitive, because now you're not only tapped into your alignment, but you're also tapped into your intuition. Because, okay, so if you were to just think about it like this, like how the brain works, like if you're in fear, if you're in uncertainty, if you're in lack or dread or doubt, you're cutting off your intuition because you're in like that fight, flight, freeze response. So no wonder so many people have a hard time accessing their intuition when we're driven by fear, we're driven by uncertainty, we're driven by doubt. And what if I told you that actually those things are totally normal? It's normal to have doubt on the road to achievement. It's normal to have uncertainty when you're about ready to do something new you've never done before. It's normal to have fear on the crux of experiencing a new experience, because the ego's never experienced it before. So it's normal to be afraid to take the action you need to take. It's normal, but it's your job to learn how to navigate that properly, and to really learn that you can navigate that properly by understanding your mindset, and by really learning how to hone in on your mindset. So one of the things we're going to be talking about a ton in the monthly membership is how you can learn to harness how to navigate the resistance properly, and how you can harness your mindset, because your mindset is one of the critical pieces to really gaining back control and to also gain more confidence. So it's like, I can tell you so many stories just about how much, when you just shift your mind, you will shift your energy and you will shift your results, because it always lives in your mindset. Because it's literally law. If you think about it, it has to be law, because that's where the vibrational match, the alignment is coming from. It's coming from your mindset. It's coming from your thoughts. It's coming from your beliefs. It's coming from your feelings. So if you were to just feel the feelings of what you want as already real and already done for you, and if you were to just take that back and be like, okay, but then what are my thoughts that I would be thinking about that? Then ask yourself, okay, well, what am I willing to do differently? How can I jump into action right now from that state of consciousness? That's where the magic happens, because now you're in alignment. Now you're taking aligned action. So aligned action isn't just some random thing. It's not about writing down a to-do list and writing like, I need to do this first, and then I need to do this, and then I need to do that, and then I need to meditate so I can get into a high vibe state. And after I do my meditating, I need to make sure I have my green juice. And no, that's not what it's about at all. It's about your intuition leads to action. You are soul led and guided from within. And this is where the alignment really comes through. And so, like I said, it's all about how can you learn to take what you're discovering, the downloads you're having, and how can you start to apply that? That's the real question at the end of the day. It's like when I was sitting in that apartment, I just remember being like, I understand enlightenment. I understand all these things, but it's just, what do I do with this? What do I do with this information? Like, it's all great and all, we're all one. It's all great and all that I'm consciously aware. What do I do with this awareness? And that's what it's about. It's about creating radical shifts and radical changes. Okay, do you guys have any questions so far? I love how I honestly didn't know what I wanted to talk about today. Just like it flew out. She says, unfortunately, intuition is indeed hampered when pesky narcissist finds by pure lack your insecurity. Yeah, and that's all about energy management right there. Because you can be unavailable for that. You can be like, I'm fucking unavailable for narcissists. I'm completely unavailable for having those kind of people in my life. Like, one thing, like, here's a side note. One time I kept attracting hate mail and it was really bothering me. And so I just decided to be done with it. And this is where, this is where discernment really comes in. You have the power to set up your own energetic boundaries. You have the power to really embrace your own standards. So it's like, I remember I had a bunch of hate mail come in. It was like really nasty. And I'm just like, I am so energetically unavailable for people like this to come into my online space. And I'll tell you what, I was very clear. I was very decisive. I was very intentional. And then it stopped. Why did it stop? It stopped because I was intentional about it. It stopped because I was very firm, line in the sand. I'm done with this. Insecurities I'm just not aware of. What do you mean by that? Let's know more. For sure. If you guys have questions, you're more than welcome to ask. I love hearing from you guys. So, yeah. So, when it comes to really looking at energy management, though, it's important to see that when you're managing your energy, it's also about standards and boundaries you're creating. And I think, it's like I've said this in a video before. It's like you have to realize that you have standards and boundaries for how you live your life. There's a certain threshold where you will not go below or go above. And those are your standards and the boundaries you have. And they might be very low boundaries. It might be very low standards due to your conditioning. Now, you can choose to raise those standards, though. You can choose to be more consciously aware and change them. And so when you think about it in terms of just looking at how mindset connects to everything, when you realize that the standards that you have and the standards you created, they might not even be your standards and boundaries that were yours. I mean, one of the most powerful shifts you can make is realizing that a lot of your conditioning is not even yours. It's your ancestors. It's from the generations before you and the generations before that and the generations before that and the generations before that. Those were just projected onto you. So one of the highest elements of higher consciousness that you can really feed into is realizing you have the power to be consciously aware, to change those beliefs, to change those stories, to change those standards, and realize that you can create your own story. Okay. Well, I have goals in life and then something is in the way, and actually I may never find out what it is. But these are those hidden beliefs and insecurities. I would just be unavailable for them. So how do I give up on the narcissist, or I look again for why this irrelevant people did bother me again? Well, I mean, first I would evaluate, okay, establish those boundaries. What do you actually want? Because what you're showing me tells me that you're focused more on what you don't want. First, you're focused more on what you're attracting, what you don't want. So what do you want? What are the people you want to attract? And secondly, I would evaluate, why is it showing up? Maybe it's from your past. Maybe it's causing an emotional reaction, such as an emotional trigger within you. Maybe it has an emotional charge attached to it, where it's keeping you in that story of attracting narcissists. You can also look at how this story is presenting itself in a triggering you. How is it projecting back on you? Because a lot of times when we attract a certain relationship in any form that's, or we're attracting people like that are more toxic to our well-being, a lot of that is about reestablishing your power. That's what we've been talking all about, is reestablishing that you hold the power to have those boundaries in place and to realize that you can be aware and change that, because your energy is powerful. Your energy is, you are the captain of your ship. What is it? I am thy captain of thy soul, the master of my ship, or whatever, whatever the quote is. You are thy captain of thy soul. Because you are the captain of your soul, you hold the power to change those standards, to change those boundaries. You can learn to set the boundaries and the intentions that you don't need to attract those people in your life anymore. And you can have this level of discernment to allow yourself to be like, actually, I'm done with this. We hold the power to do that. Like, we hold the power to be so in our pure discernment that we can be like, fuck this shit. I'm done with this. I decide I am fully unavailable for this. And allow yourself to watch the energy shift and change, because it will change. When you're in a place of pure decision, pure discernment, and you're choosing to set that intention fully, it will change. It might take a little bit of wiggle room. It might take a little bit of rearranging, but it will shift and change. Yeah. That's a good question. Okay, so I hope that helps you. Okay, anybody else have any questions? So one thing, I think we're at 45 minutes. Okay. Yes. I recommend looking up my energy management stuff on my blog. I know I have a few things on energy management. You should look that up. And of course, we're talking about energy management in the membership if you are interested in joining. And we're going to be developing a skill set. So what really the membership is about, and what it's all about, gaining your confidence with your intuition. And so we'll be building out a curriculum around owning your intuitive power, how to really get into the place where you can start to not only own your gifts, but really take back control of your thoughts, take back control of shifting your mindset, shifting your beliefs. I am really coming to the point of awareness where I've been moving into being just a mindset coach, because I feel like this is like my zone of genius. I love to talk on spiritual awakening and all of that, but where my real specialty lives is in mindset and manifestation work and mind-body healing. Because when we learn how to shift our mindset, we can shift our entire life. And so in the monthly membership, we'll start to build out this curriculum around that, because we're going to build it around that 5 core framework that I mentioned on Wednesday. And if you didn't know, I did release a blog that also went more in depth on the framework if you just wanted to revisit it, because I know a lot of people resonated with the framework. So I wrote a blog on it and kind of did a transcript of basically our whole conversation, just in case other people wanted to learn about the more in-depth version of just literally the nooks and crannies of the entire framework. And so the membership will be about, how can you live from a space of spiritual alignment? How can you start to own your flow state? How can you start to be in alignment with owning those intuitive gifts? Because, if right now you're struggling to own your intuition, or if you're having a hard time in your relationships, or you're really getting into this space in your mind where it's like there's too much fear or doubt or uncertainty or even lack showing up, these are all signs that it's about learning to own and live and learn how to essentially really amp up our spiritual alignment. And like I mentioned, spiritual alignment is like the crux of really looking at your mindset, your intuition, your space of mind body healing, your discernment around what you're attracting and manifesting in your life, your standards and boundaries, your systems for success. And all of this is something we're going to be covering in depth inside of the membership. And so the membership is right now at a founder's price. It is only $27 per month for starting. And this is only for the next 48 hours. This is a limited time package that we're doing for the startup of the entire membership. It's 27. It will be going up in July and July 2nd. July 2nd, it will be going up. And basically what you receive is you receive an all access pass to the shop, the previous masterclasses, workshops, and challenges, I believe. Challenges. And then you have also your monthly bundle. So each month you'll receive a monthly bundle on a core topic, such as intuition, soul purpose through the chakras, overcoming resistance, and so forth. And then you also have a private community where you can connect with other like minds to help you with, questions. And you also have me for coaching support in the group. So if you have a question just like this, I will easily pop on and help answer it for you, or we can even do a private message if that's more appropriate. And so you have me for support, you have the community for support, you have monthly curriculum being downloaded into your portal every single month. You are learning how to own your intuition, shift your mindset, and essentially learn how to take back your spiritual power, all for only $27 per month, or you can get in the annual. And I think that is everything I wanted to cover. You create more than I managed to even read. It is amazing. Thank you. Well, it's part of my passion work, and it's also just, it's automatic at this point. Okay. So if you are interested in the membership, go to the awakenstate.net for all of the enrollment information. Thank you guys for showing up live. It's so nice to talk to you. I loved your question. I really hope that helps you. If you have any questions about the membership or joining, please leave them down below and I'll get back to you. Or you can reach me at our support hub. It's the teal bubble at the website on the lower right-hand corner. And I think that is it. We are almost at an hour again. So, all right. I think that's all I wanted to cover. I hope you deeply enjoyed Ascend, and I hope it deeply served you. This is just a glimpse into some of the material we'll be going into in depth inside of the Academy. And if you are interested in joining, there will be a link down below on Facebook. And yeah, I think I said all I wanted to say. Okay, you guys have a beautiful day, and I'll talk to you guys soon.